Right, well, hello there, YouTube. It's been a long time coming, but I finally decided to put this video together, to put this live together, I suppose. Uh, so I'm doing it as a live rather than as an actual recorded video, which means if I fuck up, well, then I'm fucked because it's permanently out there. Unless I edit the video, which I never do with any of my live streams because I can't be fucking arsed. If I accidentally say something I don't want to say, or I go off on a wild tangent, like I'm doing technically at the moment, well then, tough shit. Um, but today I want to point out something that I've been saying I'm going to do for a while. And what I want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is point out the differences between social media websites and social networking websites. Now, why am I doing this? Right. Okay, first of all, especially if you're within England and the greater UK, maybe even in America and other countries, you'll hear your news outlets and stuff like that saying, oh, yes, if you have an opinion on this news story, you can contact us on social media. And then they'll give their like Facebook and Twitter accounts that you can comment on. But Facebook and Twitter are not social media. YouTube, of course, is social media. Facebook and Twitter are social networks. Facebook itself, of course, calls itself the social network or the social network. It understands that it's a social network, not a social media site. Right. Now, there are similarities between the two that we will come to later, but first I want to point out the differences. What makes a social networking site different to a social media site? Are you ready for this? Strap yourselves in, boys. This is going to be good. So, first of all, the definition of a social media site versus a social networking site. A social media site is the use of web based technology as an interactive means, usually with a broad audience, like YouTube, of course. A social networking site, by definition, is the creation of both business and personal relationships and maintaining an interactive environment with an aim to building a network. For those of you who are quick enough and smart enough to realize this is basically read off the thumbnail of this video. So that is one of the main differences in definition. The target crowd of a social media site is that it may not have a specific target crowd. The target crowd of a social networking site is very specific on the target crowd. You want only certain people to see and react to what you've said, compared to a social media site where you want anyone to see and react to what you've said. The goals of the two different sites are also different. With social media, the goal is interaction through creating buzz, you know, generating views, putting out there, blah blah blah, with regards to YouTube videos. Right? The goal of a social networking site is to build a network and nurture creative relationships. The communication style is also different. For social media, it's basically a message delivering channel to the users. Basically, I create my video, anyone can watch it, anyone can accept the message that I'm putting out there, whether that be an opinion, a news story, a true crime documentary, whatever it is. Social networks involves, or more involve, two-way communication and hence develops relationships. And with regards to responses, social media websites like YouTube, right here, right, may not have timely responses as it is not a fully interactive website. I can make the video, and then it could be a couple of months later when you see it and leave a comment or ask a question, whatever, right? Whereas social networking websites fosters a timely response as it involves direct communication among the parties involved. Hence, if I am on Facebook and I post something onto Facebook, I'm expecting people to react to that quicker than I would on YouTube. If I put a video out on YouTube, people can be reacting to that months or even years later. If I put something out on Facebook, I want you to reply to it and react to it almost immediately. There's a big difference. Now, of course, there are other differences between the two, but there are also similarities, and I'll come to that now. You see, on Facebook, obviously you post things and people react to them, same as you do on Twitter and other social networking websites. But you do have the ability to post pictures and videos, which technically these days would be considered social media. But that doesn't change the nature of the website. The nature of the website, Facebook for instance, is a social networking website. The fact that you can post pictures and videos, which are therefore considered social media, and people can react to those, does not change the nature of the website. Same with YouTube, which is a social media website as opposed to a social networking one. You post videos, you can sometimes, well, at least back in the day, could share pictures, right? And people can react to them. But back in the day on YouTube, you could also have conversations with people, whether that be via comments or via private messaging, which you for some reason can't do anymore. Well, even though Facebook and YouTube are similar in those regards, in that on both of them you can interact with people via comments or messages, and you can post pictures and videos for other people to see and react to, they are not the same. One is social networking, one is social media. Now, these terms become particularly apparent when referred to the justice systems and the legal systems of your countries, which I don't really want to get into at this particular point, unless I want to start talking about people being banned on specific types of website, right? You might have done something over the course of your life that will cause you to be banned from using a particular type of website, which doesn't, of course, stop you using the other type of website. Because if you're banned from one, you're not banned from the other. And if you're banned from the other, then you're not banned from the one. So if you're ever told, for whatever reason, some kind of criminal conviction or whatever, that you cannot use social networking sites, as long as you're not told then that you can't use social media sites, then you can still use YouTube. And the same the opposite way around. If they say you cannot use social media websites like YouTube, well, then you can use social networking websites like Facebook. And the distinction between the two has been blurred quite a lot over the years, mainly by TV program things. They go, oh yeah, if you're, as I said at the beginning of the video, they say, oh yeah, if you have a comment on this particular news story, you can find us on social media. And then they cite things like their Facebook and their Twitter account, which is social networking, not social media. There is a difference between the two, and those differences, as I've explained, are quite distinct. Now, of course, both types of website allow you to do very specific things that can, in some way or other, be very similar from one to the other. There are things you could do on YouTube that you could do on Facebook. There are things you could do on Facebook that you can do on YouTube. But that doesn't make them the same kind of website. And it's the same with other kinds of websites. Um, Forums, for example. You might be one of the people out there, like myself, that sometimes, every now and then, when looking at information or whatever about a certain game or something like that, might jump onto a forum. A forum is not a social networking or social media site. There are different types of website. A forum is not Facebook. A forum is not YouTube. A forum is something completely different in and of itself. Same with dating websites. Say you have a problem with social networking sites, or you have a problem with social media sites, so on and so forth, right? You can still, therefore, go on to dating websites because they are not one or the other. They are their own site by their definition. Many different websites fall into different categories. But the problem with social media and social networking is that people often conflate the two, and they are not the same. A social media site and a social networking site are not the same thing. You can see the distinction, as I pointed out, with regards to comparing Facebook to YouTube or comparing Twitter to TikTok. Instagram is somewhere within the middle. I'm not quite sure where that falls in the distinction because it's technically a social networking site, but it's also technically a social media site. It's somewhere between. Like if you drew it as a Venn diagram, you'd have Facebook and Twitter over here, you'd have YouTube and TikTok over here, and somewhere in the middle, you'd probably have Instagram. The websites out there like DeviantArt, which is a place where you can share your artworks with other people and they can buy copies of them as a mouse mat or a cup or something. I would say that is a social media website because that is a website in which the entire goal of the website is to share media, and that is the distinction. The point of a website like Facebook is that its entire idea, what it's created for, is to be friendly, to talk to other people, to make friendships with other people, to network with other people, and to enhance those networks. The main purpose of a website like YouTube is to simply share content and hopefully people will watch it. There is a difference in the distinction. We don't need all the explanations that I've already given of the difference between sites. We can really just take that as the distinction between the two. One is designed for you to talk to other people and foster relationships and friendships. The other is designed for you to just simply share shit, whether people like it or not. One is designed for you to talk to other people. The other is simply designed for you to create stuff others can watch and react to. It's not designed for you to talk to other people. The two types of website can have similar values. Back in the day when YouTube was in its infancy, if you want to call it that, you could send private messages to other YouTube users. You obviously can still add comments and like the video and so on and so forth, or dislike the video if you like. But you might dislike this one. If you do, very well, I don't care. On Facebook, also, you can share pictures and videos. People can like them, people can comment on them, and people can send you messages, whether that's related to that or not. But the difference between the two is that Facebook is designed for you to speak to each other and to message each other and to foster friendships and relationships, and YouTube is not. That is the main indistinguishable difference between the two, or distinguishable difference between the two, I suppose, because it can clearly be distinguished. So there's a difference between social media and social networking. But the fact that so many people out there today conflate the two and say, oh, yeah, if you want to react to this news story, you can find us on social media. Here's our Facebook. People think, oh, yeah, Facebook, social media. No, Facebook is social networking. Facebook itself even calls itself the social network or the social network, depending on how you want to read it. So obviously, it doesn't consider itself a social media platform. It considers itself a social networking platform. And the distinction between the two needs to be remembered. It's the same with the criminal justice system. I don't know if I'm sure I mentioned it in a previous live stream. The difference between maintaining innocence and denying guilt. The two are often used interchangeably, but they mean absolutely different things. And it is the same with Facebook and YouTube, social networking, social media. They are two different things, and people need to stop conflating the two because the more they conflate the two, the more people think the two are exactly the same, and everyone believes that Facebook and YouTube are basically the same type of website, which of course they're not. You only have to look at Facebook and look at YouTube and look at TikTok and look at Twitter to know that they're two completely different types of websites altogether. Otherwise, you might as well say that forums and dating sites and Facebook are all the same. But the only way they're all the same is that they're all websites set up by someone or a group of someone's for people to use. That's the only thing that makes them similar. Facebook and YouTube are not the same. One is one type of site and the opposite is the other. They are not the same type of site. And I'm getting pretty fucking damn sick of people conflating the two together. They are different. It's like when someone says that people are born vegans. No, vegan is a choice you make over the course of your life. What you might mean is that humans are born herbivores, which is also incorrect. Humans are born carnivores. That's what we are. Humans are carnivores. I mentioned this in the previous live stream. You can make whatever claim you like about anything, but unless you can prove it to be true, you are wrong. You can say picking your nose is immoral, but unless you can prove that picking your nose is immoral, I don't know why I picked picking your nose. Unless you can prove picking your nose is immoral, then you are wrong. But then, of course, there are certain situations where people will say something that is a minority view, but is actually correct. Like 50 million people might think that bananas are easy to fall over. You know, banana skins. You know, like on old videos where people will slip on banana skins. Right? But there might be a very small amount of us that actually know that you don't slip on a banana skin that way. They're not really that slippery. But because we're a minority, we might be perceived as being wrong, but we could actually be correct. And that everyone else who thinks that we are wrong and thinks that you can slip on banana skins that easily could actually be incorrect. That's a weird thing to compare it to, but okay, fair enough. So everyone out there needs to realise that websites like Facebook are completely different to websites like YouTube. They're not the same thing. They're not all social media. Some are social media, some are social networking. I'm hoping that within this live stream, I have managed to show you some of the differences between the two. And maybe you won't fall into the same problem that everyone else faces, where you combine the two to mean the same thing. I'm sure there are other differences between the two types of website that people can obviously pick out here or there that weren't mentioned in those official things that I read out, and in some of the explanations that I've made since. But there is a big difference between websites like Facebook and websites like YouTube, just as much as there are big differences in websites like Twitter compared to websites like Instagram or TikTok. And of course, even within the categories, there are differences between websites like YouTube and websites like TikTok. One is a more longer form style of video, and the other is a more shorter form style of video, even though we have such a thing as YouTube Shorts, which is YouTube trying to be more like TikTok, which I don't understand because YouTube is a far superior website. Facebook, of course, also has hashtagging, which is what was something that was usually done on Twitter. Why Facebook, a superior social networking site, is trying to go like Twitter, a socially inferior networking site, is beyond me. But websites do copy each other's ways of use here or there. But there's still a difference between the two. And I'm sick of people conflating them and making them all the same. So when someone ever says to you, oh yeah, social media, you should point out, oh, you mean websites like YouTube, TikTok. And when they go, oh no, I mean websites like Facebook and Twitter, say no, that is social networking. There is a difference. And of course, as I've said, Facebook itself calls itself the social network, not the social media, the social network. Even Facebook itself sees the difference between the two types of website. So hopefully this has given you some important information that you can use in your own life and use to correct other people when they make mistakes. As a side note, I'd also like to point out to some of my American viewers, if you are out there, and I know I have some American viewers, you do not do something on accident. You do it by accident. Whenever an American says they did something on accident, I feel like fucking killing them. Because that is incorrect use of the English language, which you claim to speak, even though you can't speak it properly and you can't spell it properly. You cannot do something on accident. You can do something by accident. You can do something on purpose as opposed to by accident. I once graffitied a dolphin. I didn't do it by accident. I did it on purpose. It's an old joke that's not really that funny. But I'm getting sick of people using the term on accident in websites because that, especially on YouTube, especially Americans, because that perpetuates the use of the term on accident, which is not a correct term. You do things by accident, not on accident. Please pack this in, and please tell other people to pack it in too. You can pack it in the tiny little boxes if you like, but I don't really care. But yeah, there is a difference between social media and social networking, and anyone who has any queries or questions about this, I'll be happy to answer them. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. So I'll see you again in another video quite soon, or another live stream quite soon, whenever that will be, or whenever that will be, I suppose, and whatever the subject will be, and however I will record it. I'm looking into trying to record my screen for things with regards to these live videos. I don't quite know how to do that. Maybe someone can tell me. Other than that, I'll see you again soon, and stay normal out there, people. As normal as you can be in today's society. Which is very fucking difficult, it seems. But yeah. I'll see you again. When the live stream actually decides to end, I click on the button and it's not doing anything. Hello? YouTube? You gonna end this shit or not? Hello?